All right, welcome boys and girls. What I'm going to be covering now is the Unit 6 CRT preparation. And this is pretty much boiled down to two different topics, but the brand new topic is the probabilities given frequency tables. And so a frequency table that looks like this here is the problem that is given. So notice that you'll have X, which is just a bunch of different numbers, and then a frequency. So there's 1, 0, there's 3 ones and 8 twos, etc. So if I was forced to create this list would be 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. And so that's very technically what the list would be right here. So there's 1, 0, 3 ones, 8 twos, 2 threes, and 6 fours. Now, you could literally make this list, and you could get all these answers pretty basically from equations that we already know. However, envision that instead of having like 1, 0, and 3 ones, that these frequencies are ridiculously big. Think of it like you'll have like 40 zeros and you'll have 50 ones and things like that. And so actually constructing a list would not really be an option that you want to pursue. So as opposed to that, what you want to do is kind of how we're going to be talking about this lesson here. Okay, secondary note. This Casio calculator right here, this Casio calculator. Again, if you're using your own device, like I'm using my own personal computer, you're able to download things and you're able to install things, et cetera, et cetera. And so you're able to get this calculator through the links that I've provided in the classwork portion of Google Classroom. However, if you're not using your own device, you're using like a Chromebook or something that you're not really, you don't have enough memory or something to install different files, I'm going to try to show you a way that you can do this without having this major calculator. So stand by on that and I will see what I can do about this. But again, if you can, try to get this calculator. It'll make things easier. So if you have to borrow somebody else's personal computer, or if you need to go to the store and buy this calculator or something like that, that's kind of on you. So do your best to get this. However, I'll try to show some alternatives. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and handle the types of problems that are going to be covered on the CRT. Okay. As I mentioned before, we are starting with this frequency table, and I kind of explained what that means right here. Okay, there are two formulas that correspond to these problems down here, and so we'll get there. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is find the basic probability of something. So the basic probability is the number of whatevers out of the total number. So for instance, to find the number of the number of zeros, it'd be 1 out of however total numbers are here. So you can do this one of a couple different ways. One way that you can do this is you can set up your calculator. So I'm going to set up 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 with the corresponding frequencies of 1, 3, 8, 2, 6. All right, so if this is list 1 and list 2, let me kind of jot that down here. If this is list 1 and this is list 2, all right, the total number of things would be the sum of list 2. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, here we go. The sum of list. Gravy. 2. All right, good gravy. List 2 is 20. And again, what you can do if you don't have your fancy calculator is you can just physically add 1 plus 3 plus 8 plus 2 plus 6. All right. So the frequency, the probability of a 0 would be 1 out of 20. The probability of a 1 would be 3. There's 3 1s out of 20, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or in other words, it's list 2 divided by the sum of list 2. Oh, gravy. Okay, so it'll be list 2 divided by the sum of list 2. Okay, producing a list on its own right, I'm going to store that as list 3. All right. And so what I can do is I can take a look at here. List 3 should be those individual probabilities. 0.05, 0.15, 0.4, 0.1, 0.3. Okay. All right, so when I need to find the probability of something, like for instance in question 1, what's the probability that x is between 1 and 3? What you're going to do is you're going to physically take the sum of probability of 1, 2, and 3. That's one way that you can do it. So the probability of 1 to 3 would be probability of this 1, this 2, and this 3. So what you can do is you can add up the probability of 1, 0.15, plus the probability of 2, plus the probability of 3. So this probability, long story short, is going to be equal to .65. Okay, so you, like if you need to find the range of things, you just add up the probabilities of that range. Again, I'll show you another way of doing this. Okay, probability that x is at least 2. So the question here is, do you understand what at least is? And so at least means this, the smallest it will be is 2. So at least 2 would be the probability of 2, 3, and 4. So again, kind of doing it in the same way that we did the previous problem, that would be 0.4 plus 0.1 plus 0.3. So this is going to be equal to 0.8. So again, what that was 0.4 plus 0.1 plus 0.3, 0.8. Okay, no more than 1. Same idea, no more than 1. But here, it's not going to be bigger than 1. So no more than 1 would be the probability of 0 and the probability of 1. So what that is physically going to be as far as numbers are concerned is 0.05 plus 0.15. Should be 0.2. 0.05 plus 0.15. 0.2. Okay. On to the expected value. The expected value is the average. The average is what you expect out of this. And so what that is the sum of xpx. So updating the lists that I have here as far as my calculator is concerned, what I have here is I stored these probabilities as list 3. So this is just going to be the sum of x px. The sum of x px. So let me steal this writing here. So this is going to be equal to 2.45. Excellent. All right. And then the standard deviation. So I'm going to wait till the square root to the very end, but this is going to be the sum, double open, x minus mu closed squared px closed. Okay, so all I did was I was just walking through this. So sum, open, open, list 1 minus mu, which is 2.45 closed squared, px, which is list these closed. And so all I have to do is square root this. And booyakasha, that should be your standard deviation. Pretty simple. Now, again, really easy when you have a calculator that has the ability to enter lists and things like that. It makes things way easier. But again, what if we don't have that situation? What if we're not blessed with this calculator and you're just using the calculator that's on your phone or something like that? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that. So what I have is another paper kind of ready to go here. And how can I get some of these things? All right, so again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend like my calculator doesn't have the fancy options. So how can I get this stuff old school style? All right, so the first thing is we need to figure out the probabilities. So that's the individual number. Like, so for instance, 1 out of this total. So I need to know this total. And so what the total number of numbers are going to be is 1 plus 3 plus 8 plus 2 plus 6. All right, so what happens right now is these things added up to be 20. Okay, so this is going to be kind of like the total of things. So the probabilities, the first one is going to be 1 out of 20. So you just kind of have to do it individually, 1 out of 20. And so that first option, this first probability, is going to be 0.05. Okay, that is this first one. I'm just going to steal this real quick. All right, so the second one would be 3 out of 20. So 3 out of 20, 0.15. 8 out of 20, 8 out of 24. 2 out of 20. And 6 out of 20. Okay, and so it's kind of good of you to write these down because you're going to have to be using these here in just a sec. All right, so with these as your answers, you can go ahead and do problems A, B, and C just like you did. So again, how that is accomplished is what is the probability that it's between 1 and 3? Well, that'd be 1.5 plus 0.4 plus 0.1. And so you can add up the individual probabilities. So 0.15 plus 0.4 plus 0.1, 0.65. Another way that you can do this problem is you can add up the frequencies of that. So what is the probability that it's between 1 and 3? Well, another way that you can do this is that would be the same thing as saying, oh, that's 3, 8, and 2 out of 20. Three, 8, and 2 out of 20. And so just to kind of prove my point here, that'd be 3, 8, and 2 out of 20.65. So what is the probability that it's at least 2? So the probability that it's at least 2 would be 0.4 plus 0.1 plus 0.3. So 0.4 plus 0.1 plus 0.3 is equal to 0.8. Or again, what you could do is at least 2 would be 8, 2, and 6 out of 20.8. So you can take the individual frequencies. No more than 1. No more than 1 would be 0.05 and 0.15, so no more than 1, and that's going to be equal to 0.2. Again, another version would be 1 and 3, so the frequencies of 0 and 1 is 1 and 3 out of 20.2. Expected value, XPX. So XPX. So that would be, here we go. Let's clear this out. So XPX would be 0 times 0.05 plus 1 times 0.15. So that it's the X. Let's see if I can bring up my highlighter here. So it'd be the X, like for instance, the 0 with its PX. So that's X times PX plus X times PX plus X times PX plus X times PX plus. You get the idea. And so that's exactly what I'm doing. So X times PX plus X times PX plus X times PX. And so there you go. Without a fancy calculator, you can absolutely get the expected value. I'll show you one more way here that you can get this number. Okay, thinking of it kind of rudimentarily, what you would do is add up all the numbers and divide by the number of numbers. And so, for instance, if I were to add up all of the threes or something like that, see that I have 2 3s, so it'd be 3 plus 3 is 6. Or if I were to add up all the 2s, it'd be 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, 8 times. Or so you would add it up 8 times. That's the same thing as multiplication. So if I were to add up all the numbers, it'd be 0 times 1 plus 1 times 3 plus 2 times 8 plus 3 times 2 plus 4 times 6. Added up all the numbers, divide by the number of numbers, which is 20, and there you go. So that's another way that you could kind of figure that out. All right. Now the standard deviation, I haven't really thought of a slick trick besides you just kind of have to go through this big formula itself and kind of get this answer, and then you can sum it up. So again, this is going to be kind of tedious and a little bit long, but again, without a fancy calculator, it's the best we can really get. So let me set this up and I'll kind of show you how to do this. However, if you do have a fancy calculator, you can skip this portion of the video because this does not pertain to you. You know how to do this already. All right, here we go. So let's go let's kind of skip this middle step. Let's go x minus mu squared times px. So we know that mu is 2.45. Let me kind of write this up here so we get that. So we don't forget about what mu is Okay, mu is 2.45. All right, so here we go. X minus mu. So the first one is x minus mu squared times its individual px. There you go. Okay, next one. This middle column. X times x minus mu. So x minus mu squared times px. Next, x minus mu squared times px. X minus mu squared times px. Last but not least, x minus mu squared times px. All right, so that is the individual. So now what we need to do is we need to sum those. So that'll be 0.3001 plus 0.3154 plus 0.0810 plus 0.0303 plus 0.7208. So I sum them. So that's the sigma, and now square root. Complete. And that comes out to be that. Oops. 0.032. I don't recall if that's correct or not, but that's how you can do it without a fancy calculator. You can just kind of break it down. All right. There are questions on the back side, and I try to write these problems so they add up to some nice numbers. So if you are doing it this long version way, your answers won't be too hard to write down. So they should be somewhat simple for you. So you can absolutely get this done even if you don't have a fancy calculator. All right, hopefully this was helpful to you, and I will see you in the next lesson.